you have been lied to about Europe, not in a dramatic conspiracy theory kind of way, but in the quieter, more insidious way that happens when an entire continent gets reduced to a handful of postcard cities and the travel industry decides the rest does not exist. Paris, Rome, Barcelona, Amsterdam, London. These places are real and they are beautiful, and they are also absolutely overrun with people checking items off a list, taking the same photographs that 10 million people have already taken, sitting in cafes that exist primarily to serve other tourists, disconnected from any version of local life. But if you are the kind of person who watches videos like this one, if you are genuinely curious, if you want to actually connect with the world rather than just document it, if you are open to the idea that romance and beauty and human warmth might be found somewhere other than where the algorithm points you, then I have 15 countries I need to tell you about. I am Julia, and I have been traveling professionally for years. Not just visiting places, but actually living in them, learning about them, building real friendships and real connections in them. I have stayed long enough in enough places to understand what is genuinely different about certain cultures, what makes certain women carry themselves the way they do, what produces the particular quality of warmth and depth that some places have and others simply do not. And yes, the women of these 15 countries are extraordinary. That is part of this conversation, but it is not the whole of it. Let us begin. Country 1. Moldova. If you have never heard of Moldova, you are in good company. It is one of those countries that sits quietly in the eastern fold of Europe, sandwiched between Romania and Ukraine, largely ignored by the global travel conversation. It is officially the poorest country in Europe by GDP per capita, a statistic that gets repeated often but explains very little about what it actually feels like to be there. Moldova was part of the Soviet Union, and before that part of the Romanian Principality of Moldavia, and it carries both of those historical layers in complex ways. There is a separatist region called Transnistria in the east that operates essentially as its own Soviet-style microstate, complete with its own currency, military, and a hammer and sickle on the flag, which makes Moldova the only country in Europe where you can step back in time by simply crossing a bridge. But let us talk about the country itself, and specifically about the people. Moldovans have a way of making you feel like a guest in the truest, most generous sense of that word. The culture of hospitality here is deeply embedded, rooted in a combination of Romanian traditions and Slavic warmth. And when you are invited into someone's home, which can happen faster than you expect, you will understand what I mean. Within minutes, there is food on the table, wine being poured. Moldova has one of the oldest winemaking traditions in the world, and wine is not a luxury here, but a staple, something offered as casually as water. And you are being asked questions about your life, your country, your family, with a genuine interest that is not performative. Moldovan women are the product of this culture and of their particular genetic heritage. The blend of Romanian and Slavic ancestry produces striking features. Dark eyes that can be almost impossibly expressive, high cheekbones, a kind of classical European beauty that feels as though it belongs to another era. There is an elegance here that is not manufactured. It comes from a culture that still values femininity in the traditional sense, while also producing women who are genuinely intelligent and ambitious. The capital, Chisinau, is a city in transition. It does not have the architectural grandeur of Bucharest or the tourist infrastructure of Krakow, but it has a real and vibrant social scene that has been growing rapidly in recent years. Coffee culture is thriving. The cafes around Stefan cel Mare Boulevard are full of young professionals in the evenings, animated conversation in Romanian flowing between tables, the occasional international face drawing polite but genuine curiosity. What strikes most foreign visitors to Moldova is the combination of beauty and groundedness that Moldovan women carry. These are not women who have been shaped by Instagram or the relentless commodification of appearance that characterizes so much of Western culture. They grew up in a culture where family comes first, where loyalty is not negotiated but simply assumed, and where a relationship is something you build together over time rather than something you consume and discard. Many Moldovan women have a family member or close friend who has emigrated to Italy, Portugal, Germany for work. This means they understand the wider world. They have a complex relationship with the idea of leaving, and they are genuinely curious about men who come from elsewhere. But they are also discerning. A man who comes to Moldova treating it as an exotic hunting ground will get nowhere. A man who comes with genuine curiosity about the culture, who takes the time to understand the history and the present reality, who approaches with respect and real interest, that man will be met with warmth of a degree he has probably never encountered before. Country 2. Ukraine. Before we talk about Ukraine, I need to say something directly and clearly. The war that began with Russia's full-scale invasion in February 2022 has caused catastrophic suffering to millions of Ukrainian people. Cities have been destroyed, families have been displaced, tens of thousands of lives have been lost. This is not a footnote or a caveat. It is the central reality of this country right now, and no conversation about Ukraine should proceed as though it is not happening. And within that reality, Ukraine is still Ukraine, one of the most culturally rich, historically complex, and humanly extraordinary countries in Europe. The women of Ukraine have long had a global reputation for their beauty, and while that reputation has sometimes been weaponized in ways that reduce real human beings to a commodity, the underlying truth it points toward is genuine and worth understanding properly. Ukraine is a large country with enormous internal variation. Western Ukraine, centered on Lviv, feels almost Central European. The city's architecture is largely Polish and Austro-Hungarian, the Catholic tradition is strong, the Ukrainian language dominates, and the pride in Ukrainian national identity is fierce and deeply felt. Central Ukraine around Kyiv is where the country's political and cultural heart beats, in a capital that was already one of Europe's most vibrant cities before the war and has shown a defiant, extraordinary resilience since. Eastern and southern Ukraine have their own distinct characters, more Russian-influenced historically, though that distinction has taken on painful new meanings since 2022. Ukrainian women are educated at exceptionally high rates. They are ambitious. They care deeply about culture. Ukrainian literature, music, cinema, and visual arts have all experienced a remarkable renaissance in recent years as a direct response to the attempt to erase Ukrainian cultural identity. These are not women who define themselves primarily through their appearance, though they are often strikingly beautiful in that combination of Slavic and Byzantine ways that is distinctive to this part of the world. They define themselves through their work, their values, their intellectual lives, and their relationships. What has always defined Ukrainian women in the experience of countless travelers and those who have built real relationships here is a kind of strength that sits alongside their femininity without contradiction. These are women who have navigated economic collapse, political upheaval, and now the unimaginable stress of war, and have done so with a resilience that is genuinely remarkable. They are not fragile, they are not passive, they are active agents in their own lives and in their country's story. For men who are genuinely interested in a serious, lasting connection, Ukraine has historically been one of the most rewarding places in the world. The cultural values around family, around commitment, around partnership as something real and mutual are strong and deeply held. But, and this is absolutely essential, the only approach that works here is an honest one. Ukrainian women have finely tuned radar for men who are not serious, and they have absolutely no patience for disrespect or for being treated as anything other than full human beings with their own complex inner lives. Country 3. Kosovo. Kosovo is the youngest country in Europe, having formally declared independence from Serbia in 2008, and it carries that youth in every dimension. The population skews dramatically young. Nearly half of all Kosovars are under the age of 25, and the energy that comes from that demographic reality is palpable the moment you arrive. Pristina, the capital, is not a conventionally beautiful city. It has a roughness, a work-in-progress quality, buildings from different eras sitting awkwardly beside each other, construction cranes perpetually on the horizon, streets that are full of life without being especially picturesque. There is a Bill Clinton Boulevard, named after the American president whose NATO intervention ended the 1999 war, with a larger-than-life statue of Clinton in a suit giving a cheerful wave to passers-by. You cannot make this stuff up. But Pristina has an electric social energy that more beautiful cities often lack. The cafe culture is extraordinary. Kosovo has one of the highest numbers of cafes per capita in Europe, which is a fact that reveals something important about the culture. Sitting in a cafe here is not a transaction. It is a social act, a way of being present in the community, a daily ritual of connection and conversation. And the young women who are part of this cafe culture are engaged, curious, opinionated, and genuinely interested in connecting with the wider world. Kosovar women are predominantly Albanian by ethnicity, and Albanian beauty is something I genuinely believe deserves much more attention in the global conversation about feminine beauty. There is a Mediterranean quality to it. Olive skin that catches the light beautifully, dark hair, eyes that are almost operatically expressive, combined with a dignified bearing that comes from a culture with deep-rooted codes of honor and hospitality. The ancient Albanian code called the Kanun governed social life here for centuries, and while modern Kosovo has moved well beyond its strictest applications, the underlying values of hospitality, family loyalty, and respect still infuse everyday life in ways you feel even if you cannot always articulate them. When you are welcomed into someone's home in Kosovo, it is not a casual gesture. It is an expression of cultural identity, something that costs real effort and carries real meaning. Kosovar women are increasingly well-educated and career-oriented. The country has made substantial investments in higher education, and you will find young women studying law, medicine, economics, and technology who carry both their traditional warmth and a very modern ambition. They are curious about the outside world. Kosovo is a small, landlocked country with complicated neighbors, and the desire to know what lies beyond its borders is both natural and intense. For a foreign man who approaches with genuine curiosity and respect, Kosovo offers one of the warmest welcomes in Europe. The openness is real and it is generous, but it comes with one clear expectation: that you bring your honest self to the encounter. Country 4. Albania. Albania is one of the great redemption stories of modern Europe, and to understand it properly, you need to understand what came before. For nearly 5 decades, from 1944 until the early 1990s, Albania was governed by one of the most extreme communist dictatorships the world has ever seen. Under Enver Hoxha, the country was not merely isolated from the outside world, it was hermetically sealed. No foreign travel, no foreign media, no foreign cultural exchange of any kind. Religion was banned entirely. Albania declared itself the world's first atheist state in 1967. Hundreds of thousands of concrete bunkers were built across the country in preparation for an invasion that never came. By the time the regime collapsed, Albania was the poorest and most isolated country in Europe by a considerable margin. And then the doors flew open. What that history has produced is a culture with a fascinating and genuinely compelling duality. There is an intense, almost fierce pride in Albanian identity, in the language, in the traditions, in the ancient code of Besa, which means something closer to the sacred word of honor than any simple English translation can capture. These things were protected and preserved through the isolation years, and Albanians carry them with extraordinary conviction. But alongside that rootedness sits an enormous, almost insatiable appetite for the outside world. For new ideas, new connections, new experiences. When a country has been walled off from the world for 50 years and then suddenly opens, there is a hunger that does not easily disappear, and Albanians, particularly young Albanians, are among the most genuinely, openly curious people I have ever encountered anywhere. Albanian women carry this duality beautifully. They are deeply rooted in their culture. Family is not just important here, it is the organizing principle of existence. The concept of hospitality I mentioned in relation to Kosovo comes originally from Albanian culture, where it has an almost sacred quality. At the same time, Albanian women are intensely curious about the wider world, highly educated. Albania has one of the highest rates of female university enrollment in the Balkans, and very open to connecting with people from different backgrounds. Tirana, the capital, has undergone a transformation in recent decades that seems almost mythological when you compare before and after photographs. A gray, austere, concrete communist city with almost no private enterprise became, within a generation, one of the most colorful, energetic, and socially vibrant capitals in the region. The Baloku neighborhood, which was literally closed to ordinary citizens under communism, reserved exclusively for the party elite, is now the beating heart of Tirana's cafe and nightlife culture, a place of outdoor terraces and music and the very public enjoyment of freedoms that were only recently won. Albanian women tend to be strikingly beautiful, with the Mediterranean features common to the region, a warmth and expressiveness in the face that matches the warmth and expressiveness in the character. But I want to say again what I keep coming back to. The beauty here is paired with substance. These are women who grew up with family stories about what it meant to survive totalitarianism, about what community and loyalty truly mean when they are all you have. That background gives them a depth of character that you feel immediately when you talk to them. Country 5, North Macedonia. North Macedonia is a tiny landlocked country in the Western Balkans, and it is one of those places that rewards the curious traveler with almost no effort. The country achieved something remarkable in 2019 when it resolved a decades-long naming dispute with Greece, a dispute so absurd in hindsight that it seems hard to believe it consumed so much diplomatic energy, and joined NATO shortly thereafter. EU membership discussions are ongoing. Skopje, the capital, is one of the most genuinely unusual cities in Europe. After the catastrophic 1963 earthquake that destroyed much of the old city, and which was followed by an international relief effort that included designs by Kenzo Tanga and other world-famous architects, Skopje was rebuilt as a modernist planned city. Then, in the 2000s, the government launched a project called Skopje 2014 that added an extraordinary overlay of neoclassical statues, Baroque facades, enormous triumphal arches, and heroic-scale monuments to what had been a modernist socialist city. The result is genuinely unlike anywhere else on Earth. Surreal in a way that is either brilliant or absurd, depending on your sensibility, but impossible to dismiss. Outside Skopje, North Macedonia reveals itself as one of the most beautiful countries in the Balkans. Lake Ohrid in the southwest is one of the oldest and deepest lakes in Europe, its waters so clear that you can see to extraordinary depths from the surface. The town of Ohrid sits on the lake's shores with an almost painful loveliness. Byzantine churches and monasteries perched on cliffs above the water, cobbled medieval streets winding up the hill, the kind of place that makes you wonder why everyone is not here all the time. Macedonian women reflect the country's extraordinary ethnic and cultural complexity. The population is predominantly ethnic Macedonian, with a substantial Albanian minority and communities of Turks, Roma, Vlachs, and others, each group with its own traditions, its own aesthetic, its own way of being in the world. The result is an enormous variety of looks and personalities, all sharing a Balkan quality of expressiveness and warmth that makes social connection here feel easy and genuine. What defines the social culture in North Macedonia is a particular relaxed friendliness. Macedonians are not in a hurry. They believe in the long coffee, in taking the actual time to talk to another person, in lingering over a meal rather than treating it as refueling. For a foreigner who is trying to make genuine connections rather than transactional ones, this pace is not a limitation. It is a gift. Country 6. Bosnia and Herzegovina. Bosnia and Herzegovina is the most emotionally complex country I have ever visited, and I say that having thought about it carefully. The history of the 1992 to 1995 war is still present in ways you cannot miss. In the rebuilt buildings of Sarajevo that still show bullet marks on some facades, in the quiet cemeteries on the hillsides that were still receiving the buried remains of newly identified victims decades after the conflict ended, in the way older people pause when they talk about certain years, and you understand that the pause is carrying something that words alone cannot hold. It is also one of the most beautiful, most hospitable, and most soul-stirring places in Europe. Sarajevo is a city that deserves its own documentary series. It is where East genuinely meets West, not as a travel brochure metaphor, but as a literal architectural and cultural reality. The Ottoman Bazaar of Baskarcia, with its cobblestone lanes and metalworking workshops and the smell of Bosnian coffee in the air, flows almost seamlessly into the Austro-Hungarian architecture of the city center. You can stand in a single intersection and see a mosque, a Catholic cathedral, an Orthodox church, and a synagogue all within a few minutes' walk. Before the war, Sarajevo was genuinely described as a living example of multi-ethnic coexistence, the city that had hosted the 1984 Winter Olympics, a symbol of Yugoslavia's aspirational modernity. That ideal was shattered by the siege and the war. It has been painstakingly, imperfectly, bravely rebuilt, and the texture of it is still present in the city's bones. Bosnian women are, without exaggeration, some of the most beautiful in Europe. This is not simply the assessment of besotted travel writers, it is something Bosnians themselves will acknowledge with a combination of pride and matter-of-fact acceptance. The confluence of Slavic, Mediterranean, and Ottoman influences has produced a very particular kind of beauty. Often tall, often with striking bone structure and expressive features, frequently with that quality of looking simultaneously soft and strong that is very hard to manufacture and impossible to fake. The real story, though, is not appearance, it is character. Bosnian women carry a resilience and a warmth that is directly connected to what this country has been through. The culture of hospitality here is not just polite custom. It is something fierce and deeply felt, a statement about human value and dignity. When someone invites you for Bosnian coffee, served in a jezva, poured into a small cup alongside a sugar cube and a piece of lokum Turkish delight, you are not just being offered a hot drink. You are being included in a ritual of belonging. Mostar, with its famously reconstructed stone bridge over the Neretva River, is another essential Bosnian destination, a place where young men still dive from the bridge as an act of courage and tradition, and where the old town's stone streets and clear river water create one of the most beautiful settings in the Balkans. Country 7. Serbia. Serbia sits at the geographical and cultural heart of the Balkans, and it has a personality to match: intense, proud, passionate, and extraordinarily good at having a good time. Belgrade is one of Europe's great undersung cities. It sits at the confluence of the Sava and Danube rivers, under the ancient Kalemegdan fortress, and it has been one of the most contested and rebuilt cities in European history. Destroyed and reconstructed more times than perhaps any other European capital, that history has given it a particular energy, a quality of refusing to be defined by what has happened to it, a relentless forward momentum that you feel on the streets. The floating river clubs called Splavovi line the banks of both rivers, and on summer weekends the energy along the waterfront is unlike almost anything else on the continent. Belgrade has a genuine, earned reputation as one of Europe's best nightlife cities, not because it has the most expensive clubs or the most famous DJs, though it has both, but because the Serbians themselves go out with a commitment and a joy that is infectious. The night starts late, it ends at dawn, and the people in between are genuinely, fully, enthusiastically alive in a way that is different from a controlled, curated night out elsewhere. But Belgrade is also a city of culture and intellectual life. The literary cafe culture is real. There are coffee shops here that have been discussing ideas seriously for generations. The Serbian film industry, the Serbian literary tradition, the Serbian music scene, from traditional folk to contemporary electronic, all have genuine substance. The tension between the hedonistic and the intellectual is part of what makes this city so compelling. Serbian women are famous across the Balkans for their looks, often tall, with strong Slavic features, frequently very stylish in a way that reflects a culture that takes personal presentation seriously. But the less discussed dimension is the intellectual depth that underpins a lot of Serbian femininity. Education rates are high, literary culture is genuinely strong. Serbian women read widely, they have opinions and they want to discuss them. They are not looking for someone to agree with everything they say. They want a real interlocutor, a genuine intellectual counterpart, someone who brings something to the conversation. The dating culture in Serbia involves a delicate balance worth understanding. There is a traditional undercurrent, a cultural expectation that men will be somewhat decisive, will take initiative, will demonstrate interest clearly rather than waiting for permission. But this sits alongside a strong and increasingly vocal feminist urban culture that is sharply critical of machismo and genuine disrespect. The balance is real, and it matters. Getting it right means understanding the difference between confidence and arrogance, between decisiveness and entitlement. Serbian women can read that difference immediately. Country 8, Montenegro. Montenegro is tiny, one of the smallest countries in Europe by both area and population, and it is possessed of a natural beauty so extreme that it sometimes does not seem entirely real. The Bay of Kotor in the south is where dramatic limestone mountains plunge directly into a fjord-like body of water enclosed on all sides, dotted with medieval Venetian walled towns and ancient churches built on tiny islands. It is genuinely one of the most beautiful places I have seen anywhere on Earth, and it has the quality that the greatest natural beauty always has of making you feel simultaneously very small and very alive. The Durmitor National Park in the Northern Highlands is a different kind of extraordinary. Glacial lakes of impossible blue-green, canyon depths that make you slightly dizzy at the rim, forested mountains that go on and on in the particular silence of wilderness. Montenegrins have a cultural reputation throughout the Balkans for being proud, unhurried, and rather enjoying their own reputation for being proud and unhurried. There is a local humor about this. Jokes told by Montenegrins about themselves involving a man who sits down on a rock and when asked what he is doing says he is resting before the work begins, and when asked when the work will begin, says he has not decided yet. The joke is self-aware and also, in a certain philosophical light, completely sound. Life here operates at a pace that prioritizes pleasure, conversation, and human connection over productivity as a terminal value. Montenegrin women carry this cultural ease in a way that is immediately appealing to people from outside. They are warm, they are confident, they have the natural assurance of people who grew up somewhere beautiful and have not been taught to be ashamed of taking pleasure in it. The women of the coastal towns, Budva, Kotor, Herceg-Novi, have a Mediterranean expressiveness and social ease, comfortable with strangers in the natural way of people who live in communities that have always been visited. The women of the northern interior have a slightly more reserved quality, more Slavic in bearing, but the warmth is always there once you have made genuine contact. Montenegro is also genuinely opening up to the world. EU candidate status, active integration processes, a booming tourism economy. All of this is producing a young population that is increasingly outward-looking, internationally minded, and interested in connections beyond the Balkans. Country 9. Georgia. Georgia sits at the crossroads of Europe and Asia. Technically, geographically, the Caucasus sits outside Europe's conventional borders, but culturally, Georgia is deeply European in its traditions, its Orthodox Christian heritage, its wine culture, its sense of itself, and its relationship to the wider continental story. The country has been actively seeking European integration for years, and it absolutely belongs in this conversation. Georgia is one of those countries that gets into your soul in a way that is hard to fully explain afterward. It has an ancient culture. The evidence for winemaking here goes back 8,000 years, making Georgia one of the earliest wine-producing civilizations on Earth, and that antiquity is visible and palpable everywhere. The old city of Tbilisi, with its carved wooden balconied houses overhanging narrow alleyways, its sulfuric natural hot spring bathhouses, its 19th century Russian imperial architecture, its Soviet-era apartment blocks, its ultra-modern glass bridge and contemporary arts institutions, all of it piled together on the steep banks of the Kura River in a gorgeous, chaotic, layered whole. Georgian women have a particular reputation that precedes them. There is a famous saying in the region that a Georgian woman is among the most beautiful in the world. And while that assessment obviously carries its share of national pride, the underlying observation is not baseless. Georgian women combine features from multiple ancient bloodlines: Caucasian, Persian, Greek, Slavic influences all present in various degrees, and the result is a very distinctive look that tends to strike visitors immediately. Often dark-featured, with strong bones, expressive dark eyes, a particular quality of beauty that has a depth to it. But the real story is character. Georgian culture has a deeply embedded tradition of how women are to be treated, not in a diminishing way, but in the opposite sense. Georgian men have historically been expected to treat women with an almost formal respect, and women have grown up in a culture where their dignity and value are assumed rather than negotiated. They carry themselves with a confidence and a warmth that reflects this. Georgian women are also famous for being exceptional cooks. The cuisine here, one of the great food cultures of the world, is largely sustained and transmitted by women, and for the depth of their family loyalty. Georgia is a culture where family connections run deep and wide, where showing up for each other is not optional, and women here are looking for men who understand and share that kind of commitment. Country 10. Armenia. Armenia is a country with one of the most ancient and distinct cultural identities on earth. The Armenian Apostolic Church, one of the world's oldest Christian denominations, founded in 301 AD, is not just a religious institution. It is the cultural backbone of a civilization that has survived through hardship that most nations never face. The Armenian Genocide of 1915, in which approximately 1.5 million Armenians were killed by the Ottoman government, is the defining trauma of the national consciousness, present in the memory of every Armenian family. The diaspora it created. There are more Armenians living outside Armenia than within the country itself, scattered across Russia, France, the United States, the Middle East, and dozens of other countries, has produced a culture that is at once intensely rooted and genuinely global. In Yerevan, the capital, you can hear as much French, Russian, or American English as Armenian on a single cafe terrace on a warm evening. This is a city experiencing something remarkable right now. Over the last several years, Yerevan has undergone a genuine renaissance. New cafes, new restaurants, new galleries, a creative class returning from the diaspora and investing in the city's future. The result is a sophisticated social scene that feels genuinely international while still being unmistakably, proudly Armenian. Armenian women are dark-featured, often strikingly beautiful, with that combination of Mediterranean warmth and ancient dignity that is distinctive to this part of the world. There is a poise here, a particular elegance in how women carry themselves, in how they dress, in how they engage in conversation, that strikes visitors immediately and stays in the memory. The culture around relationships in Armenia has a strong traditional dimension that is worth understanding. Family matters here in ways that go beyond the nuclear unit. The extended family has real weight, and the opinions of parents and grandparents carry genuine significance. Marriage is taken seriously, and relationships are understood as building blocks of something larger than just two people's happiness. Within those frameworks, Armenian women are capable of a loyalty and a warmth and an intensity of connection that is genuinely extraordinary. Country 11. Belarus. I need to address something directly before we talk about Belarus. The political situation in this country is serious. The government of Alexander Lukashenko has been widely condemned by Western democracies as authoritarian, following the 2020 presidential election, which was broadly considered fraudulent, and the subsequent brutal crackdown on pro-democracy protesters. Belarus has been subject to significant Western sanctions. Visiting Belarus is a decision that involves real political and practical considerations, and I would strongly encourage anyone thinking about it to research current travel advisories carefully. With that said, the Belarusian people, and Belarusian women specifically, are in no way represented by or responsible for their government. They are living within a political reality they did not choose, and they deserve to be understood and valued on their own terms. Belarusian women have an extraordinary reputation across the broader region. There is a specific and widely shared assessment throughout Eastern Europe that Belarusian women are among the most beautiful in the former Soviet world, and this is one of those cases where the reputation, while obviously simplified, points towards something real. The Slavic genetics here, often tall, often fair-featured with strong bone structure, with the quality of almost architectural beauty that Baltic and Eastern Slavic bloodlines can produce, create a very particular aesthetic that tends to make a strong impression. But beyond the physical, Belarusian women are known for being highly educated, particularly in technical and scientific fields. Belarus had one of the Soviet Union's most developed educational systems, with particular strengths in engineering, mathematics, and the hard sciences, and that tradition has survived into the present. The combination of striking beauty and genuine intellectual substance is something that visitors to Minsk frequently remark on. Minsk itself is one of Europe's most unusual cities. Almost entirely destroyed in the Second World War and rebuilt from nothing in the Stalinist architectural style, it is a city of enormous, imposing, symmetrical boulevards and monumental public buildings that were designed to embody the ambitions of an empire. Architecturally, it is extraordinary in its own cold, grandiose way. Socially, within the constraints of the political environment, it has a warmth and depth that surprises visitors who arrive expecting grayness and find something much more human. Country 12, Bulgaria. Bulgaria has been an EU member since 2007, which puts it in a slightly different category from some of the other countries on this list. It has European institutional membership and the benefits that come with it. But it remains consistently one of the lowest income EU members, and that economic reality, combined with a very particular cultural identity and history, places it firmly in the conversation we are having today. Bulgaria has a genuinely ancient history: Thracians, Greeks, Romans, Byzantines, Bulgars, Ottomans, Russians. Layer upon layer of civilization stacked in a landscape that ranges from Black Sea beaches to alpine mountain ranges to the rose-growing valleys that supply a significant portion of the world's rose oil. This is a country with depth. Sofia, the capital, rewards slow discovery. It does not hit you immediately the way some European capitals do, but spend a few days there and you start to see the layers. The ancient Serdica ruins are literally visible through the glass floors of the metro stations. The Alexander Nevsky Cathedral is one of the most beautiful Orthodox churches in the world. The cafe culture around Vitosha Boulevard and the Oberiste neighborhood is genuinely excellent. Excellent coffee, excellent food, reasonable prices, and a relaxed energy that invites you to sit and stay. Bulgarian women are notable for combining strong Slavic features with something slightly darker and more Mediterranean, a legacy of the Ottoman centuries and Byzantine influence that has left its mark on the gene pool in ways that are difficult to categorize but easy to appreciate. There is a wide variety of appearances here, but a consistent quality of expressiveness and presence. Culturally, Bulgarian women have navigated a fascinating social moment. Communist-era Bulgaria gave women extraordinary professional equality, one of the highest rates of female employment in Europe, strong representation in technical and scientific fields. But the transition to a market economy created new pressures. Modern Bulgarian women are genuinely ambitious, often highly educated, and carry strong family values alongside very modern expectations about partnership. They want an equal, not a provider. They want a companion, not a caretaker. The Black Sea coast in summer, Varna, Sozopol, Nesebar, is one of the great social environments in Eastern Europe. The energy is warm, international, and relaxed. And the high Tatras, which Bulgaria shares in its own Rila and Pirin ranges, offer another access point to the country at its most authentically local and beautiful. Country 13, Romania. Romania is one of Europe's greatest surprises, and I say that with the full awareness that saying so has become something of a travel writing cliché. And yet it remains true. because the gap between the popular imagination of Romania and the actual country is so enormous that it never fully closes. The popular image is Gothic horror, communist grayness, orphanages. The actual country is a land of extraordinary natural beauty and cultural richness, of medieval Transylvanian towns with perfectly preserved Saxon architecture, of wild Carpathian mountains where bears and wolves still roam freely, of the magnificent Danube Delta where the river spreads across a vast bird-filled wetland before reaching the Black Sea, of Bucharest, a city nicknamed the Paris of the East for its grand Belle Époque boulevards, a city of enormous energy and cultural ambition that is in many ways the most exciting capital in the eastern half of the continent right now. Romanian women are widely considered among the most beautiful in Europe, and this is one of those assessments that comes from enough varied and independent sources to carry real weight. The extraordinary genetic mix that centuries of Latin, Dacian, Slavic, Greek, and Ottoman influence have produced here results in an enormous variety of looks, from very fair and Slavic in the north to darker and more Mediterranean in the south, with every variation between. The common thread is a particular quality of expressiveness and presence that has to do with character as much as genetics. Romanian women are warm in a way that is easy and immediate, not forced, not performed, but genuinely natural. They are family-oriented, but they are also ambitious and internationally minded. Romania has one of the largest diasporas in Europe, with millions of Romanians living and working abroad, and the young women who remain in the country are frequently as globally engaged and internationally educated as those who have left. Bucharest's social scene is outstanding by any European standard. The Old Town is packed on weekend evenings with an energy that is genuinely joyful. The creative arts community is thriving. The restaurant scene is exceptional. Nights can go long and be very, very good. Beyond Bucharest, Transylvania, with cities like Brasov, Sibiu, and Cluj-Napoca, offers a different Romanian experience, more relaxed, more deeply rooted, with a strong German and Hungarian cultural influence layered over the Romanian base. Cluj-Napoca in particular has become one of the great university cities of Eastern Europe, with a young, creative international population that gives it a particular energy. Country 14, Latvia. Latvia is a Baltic country on the eastern shore of the Baltic Sea, between Estonia to the north and Lithuania to the south, with Russia to the east and the complicated geopolitical reality that this implies. An EU and NATO member since 2004, it remains one of the poorer members of both alliances, and its relatively small size and sparse global coverage mean it rarely features in the conversations it deserves to be part of. Riga, the Latvian capital, is one of the most architecturally extraordinary cities in Northern Europe, and genuinely one of the great underrated European destinations full stop. The concentration of Art Nouveau architecture in the city center is among the finest and most extensive in the world. Approximately 30% of all buildings in the historic center were designed in the Art Nouveau style in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, by architects of remarkable talent working in a city that was then one of the most prosperous in the Russian Empire. The result is street after street of elaborately, lovingly decorated building facades that catch the low Baltic light in the evenings in ways that are simply stunning. Beyond the architecture, Riga has a social scene that punches well above its demographic weight. The Old Town is full of atmospheric bars and restaurants. The Central Market, housed in 5 enormous former German Zeppelin hangars, is one of the great food markets of Europe. The cafe culture is serious and warm, and in summer, when the long Baltic light makes evenings feel as though they last forever, the outdoor terraces fill with people who have survived another winter and are determined to enjoy every moment of the warmth. Latvian women have a strong reputation throughout Northern and Eastern Europe. The Baltic genetic combination, elements of Norse, Slavic, and ancient Baltic bloodlines blended across centuries, produces women who are frequently tall, often fair-featured, with strong bone structure and an elegance that is distinctly Northern European in character. There is a refinement here, a quality of carefully considered self-presentation that differs from the more obviously Mediterranean warmth of the Balkan countries on this list, but has its own quiet power. Culturally, Latvian women are a fascinating balance of northern reserve and deep warmth. There is a tendency, common across the Baltic states, toward understatement and privacy on first meeting. Latvians are not immediately effusive, and they do not perform friendliness before it is genuinely felt. But once you have established real contact, the friendship or relationship is of extraordinary depth and loyalty. These are people who mean what they say and say what they mean, and the trust, once given, is absolute. Latvia also has an interesting demographic reality. Due to emigration of young men to Western Europe for work and various historical factors, women substantially outnumber men in the country. This has some practical effect on the dating landscape and means that Latvian women are genuinely open to meeting people from outside, not because of any desperation, but because the natural arithmetic of the situation makes it logical and welcome. Country 15, Slovakia. We close our list in Central Europe with a country that quietly ties together many of the threads we have been following. Slovakia is the younger, smaller, quieter sibling of Czechia. The two countries separated peacefully in January 1993 in what became known as the Velvet Divorce, one of the most civilized national separations in history. Slovakia joined the EU in 2004 and adopted the euro, but it remains significantly below Western European income averages and significantly less visited than its neighbors. This is a genuine oversight by the travel world, and one that rewards those who choose to correct it. Bratislava, the capital, occupies one of the most geographically interesting positions of any European capital. It sits where three countries meet, Austria, Hungary, and Slovakia, and is the only capital city in the world that directly borders two foreign nations. It is an hour by train from Vienna, a short drive from Budapest, connected to the heart of Europe in ways that have shaped its culture and its character. Yet it has its own distinctive identity. Not a satellite of Vienna, not a smaller Budapest, but genuinely itself. The old town of Bratislava is compact and beautiful, full of excellent coffee, good wine, and restaurants that offer genuinely comparable quality to Vienna at a fraction of the price. The castle above the city, the medieval streets below it, the wide Danube flowing past, it is a place that rewards an afternoon walk and a long evening in equal measure. Slovak women tend to combine Central European refinement with Slavic warmth in proportions that feel very natural. Often fair-featured, with the kind of classic European beauty that is elegant without being severe, they tend to be well-educated. Slovakia has strong higher education traditions, particularly in technical fields, and they bring both warmth and substance to their relationships. What is worth saying specifically about Slovakia is that it has not been as heavily targeted by international dating tourism as some of its neighbors, which means there is less of the defensiveness or wariness toward foreign men that you sometimes encounter in places that have seen too much of a certain kind of attention. Slovak women are open, warm, and genuinely curious about people from outside, but they have not had that curiosity exploited enough to have learned to suppress it. Outside Bratislava, the country opens into extraordinary natural beauty. The High Tatras, the highest range of the Carpathian Mountains, offer some of the most dramatic mountain scenery in Central Europe. The wooden folk architecture of regions like Sikmani or the Orava region is a living tradition of extraordinary beauty. The spas and castles and medieval towns of eastern Slovakia are almost entirely undiscovered by international tourism. There is a richness here that most of Europe has not yet found. Slovak culture places great value on education, family, and community. There is a strong Catholic tradition, particularly outside the capital, that shapes social norms in ways that emphasize commitment and loyalty without being rigid or closed-minded. Slovak women are warm but not immediately expressive. They tend toward a northern reserve on first meeting that gives way slowly and genuinely. And what you find beneath that reserve is depth, humor, real feeling, and the kind of loyalty that comes from a culture where relationships are built to last. There is a thread running through all 15 of these countries, and I want to name it clearly before we close, because it matters. The women of these places are not extraordinary because they are poor. They are extraordinary because the circumstances of their lives, the history, the culture, the specific values that have developed through hardship and resilience, and the fierce protection of what matters most, have produced people with genuine depth, with real warmth, with a quality of humanness that wealth and comfort can sometimes slowly erase. There is something about being rooted, truly rooted in a family, in a community, in a history, that produces a kind of person that the frictionless transactional world of wealthy, mobile, consumer-oriented modernity does not often make. These countries still make those people. These women are those people. Travel at its best is an act of genuine curiosity. It is the decision to step outside the story you already know and encounter the world as it actually is, in its complexity, its beauty, its difficulty, its extraordinary human variety. And the world, as it actually is, contains these 15 countries and the remarkable women who call them home. Go with respect, go with honesty, go with the actual intention of connection rather than the performance of it. And I promise you, whether you find love or friendship or simply a richer, truer understanding of what this continent really is beyond the postcard, you will not be disappointed. I am Julia. Travel honestly, connect genuinely, and never stop being curious about the world.